सो वेलकम यू ऑल। आप लोग अपना समय निकाल के इस कार्यक्रम में आए। नीलेश जी का कार्यक्रम है, उनकी स्पेशल टॉक हम लोगों ने अरेंज करवाई है। सो आई वेलकम यू ऑल फॉर दिस सेशन ऑफ एन इंटेलेक्चुअल टॉक बाय प्रोफेसर नीलेश ओक। I would like to say a few words about Indic Academy before we start the program, and I'll introduce जो आज के हमारे गेस्ट हैं उनको. So Indic Academy is a non-profit seeking organization which seeks to bring an intellectual, cultural and spiritual renaissance based on Indic civilizational thought. The organization enables public intellectuals to discover their potential, transform them as thought leaders and nurture them to become social entrepreneurs. Indic Academy provides various kinds of courses, grants, scholarships, programs, networks and platforms to establish relationships with existing universities and institutions. Currently we have an MOU with Kanchi Math, Sanchi University and Chinmay Vishwavidyapeeth. The organization provides fellowships, research and travel grants to scholars and public intellectuals, publishing grants to digital platforms and first-time authors. So we keep on promoting various new first-time authors and include various book launches and such events so as to enable new authors to come in limelight. We at Indic Academy continue online and offline courses and programs including workshops, etc. And as regards network and platform, we enable public intellectuals to connect, cooperate and collaborate with one another by nurturing various networks such as Indica Network, Indic Art Activist Network, Indic Author Network and Indic Economic Network. So there are various aspects which we are trying to fulfill the gaps in our society. जो छोटा मोटा हम लोगों के हाथ में थोड़ा बहुत है. This Indic Academy is steered by Shri Hari Varlamani ji. So now about today's program. Now the West has a worldview of science and religion, while in Bharat we had an age-old tradition of science within Dharma, and now Dharma has been interpreted as religion. So we can somehow say, okay, in India we have had an history of science and religion working together. Science has been a part of our religion, whether it's the Vedic chittis or whether it's calculating our various muhurt or whatever. So mathematics, calculus, whatever. So Nilesh ji would be expanding on this topic. And I am Dr. Shilpi Tiwari. I am a neurosurgeon by profession, and I welcome now Professor Nilesh Oak ji for his talk. He is an adjunct professor at Institute of Advanced Sciences in USA, and he'll talk about something about himself also. We expect that. He writes extensively on his blogs and has published 3 books on ancient Indian chronology. So welcome Nilesh ji.
Namaskar. Yep. Namaskar everyone. All right, thank you for coming. So science as a religion, and the subtitle, if you want to call it, the basis for Indic Renaissance. So there was a European Renaissance, few hundred years ago, and it's time for Indic Renaissance. It's already happening. It's a trickle, but it's a happening. Okay. So let's go. Everyone comfortable with English? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's start with what is science. Before I show you the slide, quickly, what is science?
Scientia, it is developed from scientia, Latin word perhaps.
Acha, like as a basis, as you are saying as a basis, right? Knowledge, usually it meant Greek sort of, meant knowledge, right? Okay. Yesterday I went and took a picture next to Jantar Mantar, and because I posted today on a Facebook, they said, oh, perfect day to take the picture, the Makar Sankranti. So my best wishes to all of you on the day of Makar Sankranti. That's the day of Uttarayan. Everyone must know that we have not updated our calendars for a long time, almost 2000 years. That's why Ashwini is our first nakshatra. Okay, and Uttarayan we still celebrate on 14th or 15th, because 1800 years ago, when sun entered the zone of Makar Rashi, that's when it happened to be the timing of winter solstice. Since then 1800 years have gone by. Okay, and now it has shifted because true winter solstice in our times is 21st, 22nd December. Okay, that is, and immediately you go on the social media and you just fight. Oh, you don't know this Western calendar. No. Western calendar has its limitation, but as far as the Gregorian calendar is concerned, as a purely solar calendar, okay, it's an amazingly accurate calendar. So let's not go the West versus East. In fact, I'm going to take you into deep antiquity. Once you go into deep antiquity, there is no West and East. It's just us. Okay? All right. So, how many of you have been to Jantar Mantar, either here or Jaipur or wherever places, right? And so this is one structure. They call it Mishra Yantra. But then other side there is this wall in the middle, right? Samrat Yantra. And then next to that there is a circular structure, right? So, many people just go there and kind of wonder, what do they do with this, So, for example, if you see here, this is how, you see those windows there in that circular structure, and there are these bars put in between. That's how you can make very accurate measurements of the sky. And we'll see why that was so important. I mean, around the world, but India was like a number one, we'll see that. All right. So now, so I just said here, this is the cosmology or astronomy. In the Western world, when the European Renaissance took place and science kind of took hold, science as opposed to religion, the Christianity, okay, the most successful theory in the West is that of cosmology, the planets, okay, and then it just turned out to be the most successful. In fact, the famous names of scientists that you hear, okay, Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, Einstein, Lagrange, Maxwell, they're all related to this science, most successful. Now, what is sad is, and I'm going to show you, a research, Saksha-based research, evidence-based research, based on the most successful theory of science, our people struggle to understand the conclusions. And I don't mean the ordinary people, our researchers also, okay? Kind of very funny. All right. Quickly, few quotes. I don't want to read all of them. So science, this is a quote from famous scientist, however, is never conducted as a popularity contest. Suppose if you go for a debate between two theories, the person who spoke well is not the one necessarily the winner. It's very important, okay? Now, the other one is what it says, what is science? Science, scientific thinking, scientific method is, this person is saying, is the best philosophical construct that we humanity has. Okay, we'll see the connection here. And of course, if one ignores the contradictory observations, then it may be very popular, it may be exciting, but it's not truth. So, couple more, a few more. So it's a culture. The next one is, it is curious how often erroneous theories have a beneficial effect. So that is the beauty of science. Even when you make mistakes, okay, it lead to progress. Okay, actually many number of great revolutions or great discoveries have come from accident. That wasn't really what they were after. They were doing something else, and then something else happened. Okay, it's a self-correcting process. Now, what is important there is this. See, the erroneous theory, those of you who study Vedanta, and we hear Vedanta and people think, oh, that's a complicated. In fact, unless you talk about Vedanta in a complicated language, no one believes that you know Vedanta. Okay, so here these erroneous theories, which is what? This Vedanta term is what? Neti is one, very good. That is the process of science, not this, not this, not this. Okay, and then tamo prakashavat. So even an erroneous theory, tamo you can call it, but it gives you a context for the prakash, because otherwise, if everywhere is a prakash, you don't know what is a tamo, right? Self-correcting process. Now, what is the big deal about self-correcting process? Sanatan Vedic Dharma, that's what we call our Dharma, right? And Yaskacharya, who wrote the Nirukta, like how to understand the Vedas, he defines Sanatana as Sanatano Nityanutanha, the one that is capable and insists on refreshing itself continuously. That's a self-correcting process. You try, trial and error, you fix yourself, change the theory and move on, right? And the last one, again, he's one of my guru, you can say, Sir Karl Popper, the philosopher of science. Science must begin with the myths and the criticism of the myths. Myths meaning a truth claim. Myths not in the sense of a false, but it's a truth claim. It's not been validated. All right. Quickly, what is the benefit of science? I just picked a slide. I mean, you can think of many more things. It solves everyday problems. Would you agree? It solves the problem. That's why we do science. We also do this to satisfy our curiosity. We want to know what is it. Build knowledge, develop technology. We have all these smart technologies here. They came from science, and address societal issues. I want you to note those. Even the address societal issues, okay, and then inform policy and whatnot. Now try to see. I'm going to show you the similarity of this with the Indian Dharma Shastra or Indian Darshanas. Okay, it addresses all of these issues. Now, what is Dharma? Okay, I'm not asking for a definition. What I did is I said I went to Wikipedia and just copied, like Dharma. I just typed what is Dharma. Let's say what they say. If you look at the top, it says Hinduism. Okay, Rita is what? Doing the right thing, so to say. Satyam vachmi, Ritam vachmi, right? In order that makes life and universe possible, and it includes duties, rights, laws, conducts, virtues, right way of thinking. Essentially what they're saying is, you understand Dharma, it's very difficult to describe it, right? Dharma, that's like that. And I'm not going to read the next one. What I want to show you is, like it starts with us, there is a Swadharma, there is a community Dharma. It starts with us. Our model is what? There is a Atma in every one of our body, there is a Atma, right? And so there is a body around it. So that star there is a Atma, okay, represents, okay. That's the individual. The individual has needs and they need to be satisfied, okay. Then if you have many such individuals, we have a society, okay. So we need some additional rules, how to deal with others, okay. And there are basic necessities, but then there are some higher necessities, and for that we also need philosophy. We need rules. Like even driving rules, driving conventions, they are like philosophy. Always drive on this side, don't change the lanes, stop at the red light, those are kind of rules. Now, when we look at Rigveda, either we know what it is or sometimes, we just think it's something esoteric, it's beyond me. And that is frankly true because they are so old that it's very difficult to figure out what exactly they are saying. Then we get stuck into, as soon as this happens to me all the time, I'm sure it will happen to you. As soon as you take one ruk from Rigveda and give the translation, if there are some Sanskrit Pandit around, meaning Sanskrit professors, then whole discussion gets into that is not the right translation. And the funny thing is, if I ask them for their translation, then they keep mum. This happens time and time again. I go to different universities. I was at Chinmaya. 1 hour they were fighting on a simple word, pramana. I gave like 10 different translations and they said, no, that's not it. No, sir, you're not using correct one. I said, so how do you translate it? He said, well, that's something we have to discuss. What do you mean? You don't know the answer, but you're saying somebody else is wrong. Even multiple ones, okay? So we have that. Now, when we look at Rigveda, sometimes what we may feel is like something esoteric. Well, there are some esoteric stuff in a sense of a very interesting stuff. But this one, how many of you can read this? Tvanno asya amate rutakshudo abhishastu ravasprudi Tvanna uti tava chitraya diya shiksha shachishta gatuvita. Now, just 2 lines. But that is the beauty of Vedas or Rigvedas. You can extract so many meanings out of it. Relevant meaning, meaningful meaning. I presented in Boston just on these 2 verses how this provides a whole education model as to what should be taught, how it should be taught, okay, what are the qualifications of a teacher, what are the qualifications of a student. Everything is there. I'm not going to take you there. I just want to pick 3 words from there. It is saying amate, so tvanno asya amate, amati, kshudha, abhishastu. This is a prayer to Indra. And it is said, hey Indra, please give us that knowledge, please share with us the expertise that you have. That will allow us to deal with amati, kshudha, abhishastu. Amati is what? Amati, bad thoughts, we digressing from a righteous path. Kshudha, everyone knows kshudha. If I talk here longer, you will have a kshudha. Hunger, okay? And abhishastu literally means curse, but means like when we are not feeling well, disease, epidemic, and so on. Those are the very basic things. I mean, the Rigveda is talking about it and asking Indra to give us the network, the uti is like a web. Give us uttava chitraya, give us like a variegated techniques, different knowledge, And then he's described as what? Shachishta Gatvita. The word Sreshta comes from Shachishta. Okay, Gatvita is a pathfinder, a coach, a mentor. Be a mentor to us. Okay. So ignorance, hunger, and disease. So amati, kshuda, abhishastu. And so what we need to counter that is a wisdom, sustenance, and health. And for all of this, we also need a philosophical basis. That's a darshana. Now I'm going to quickly walk you through 6 darshanas. Everyone has heard there are Shad darshanas, right? Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika darshan, in simple language, it's a physics chemistry. In a simple language, it's a physics chemistry. Okay? Now suddenly you will think, oh, this must be a backward. You will be amazed. Like chemistry, I'm a chemical engineer by profession, by the way. The chemistry that we use as a very sophisticated chemistry, it is only 200, barely 250 years old. But people managed to do all kinds of fascinating things before that, by the way, without that chemistry. Okay? So you can see that. Now there is a definition of a dharma, many definitions. So, yato abhyudaya nishreyasa siddhi sadharma. Okay, learning those skills that leads to abhyudaya, leads to prosperity. And nishreyasa, the ultimate good. The people translate that in many ways, making lots of money, but it also could mean what? Moksha. Like ultimate, whatever you want to do it. Release from this, In fact, Jana, you have heard about the Janaka or Shuka, and even Ram, Vasishtha is also guiding Ram. For example, what is the story of Shuka? He is Antastyagi, Bahirtyagi. Shuka Goswami, he has renounced everything. Internal also, outside also, he doesn't look much. Now, if you look at the Janak is a king. He's enjoying royally, In fact, if you read the story of a Janaka, you'll say, what's going on? What book I am reading? Okay? He's absolutely enjoying. But he's what? Antastyagi Bahir Sangi. Outside he is enjoying, but internally he has renounced the thing. And Vasishtha also guides Rama, saying that Antastyagi, because he's a king, right? Bahir Sangi Loke Vichare Raghava. Vasishtha is saying that inside you be renounced completely, but outside you enjoy. You're a king. Okay? So that's what this teaches us, the basics, physics and chemistry. Okay, this is Nyaya Darshana. Like just before the talk, we talked about the logic. Sometimes the logic is missing. The initial physics, chemistry is right. Think of that. The discussion that we had. Physics, chemistry is good, the evidence is good, but drawing the inferences, we struggle. That we struggle because of the lack of knowledge of the Nyaya Darshana, which is Tarka Shastra. So the first 16 elements it talks about, okay? Then it also talks about the things that people do wrong. If these are not known on social media, in research papers, in conferences, people are fighting using these futilities and fallacies, and they don't even know that they are doing it. And then the audience doesn't know, and the judges don't know. So we are stuck. So there is no alternative to Swadhyaya Pravachanacha. Each one of us, to our own ability, have to start learning these things. Just because in their Sanskrit or Sanskrit may be backward. No, this is exactly the one line some guy, Western guy will take and Harvard build a model and make tons of money out of it. Okay? And then these are the last thing that you see is somebody behaves in a not appropriate way during the debate. The person is to be rebuked and removed from the debate. Or in the modern language, social media, we can say either he must be muted or blocked. Okay? That's the language. Sankhya Darshan, Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, we hear about the Sankhya. Okay, so again, what is the purpose of a Sankhya? Remember what we talked about, the objective of a science, like to solve problems, make life happy, and so on. And now what does it say? Trivida Dukkha, the first line where Nivrutti, the 3 types of pains, suffering that Sankhya wants to get rid of. Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, Adidaivik, and so on. Then Yoga Darshan, if you look at it. Now look at some of those, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, fine, but he's talking of science there. If you look at number 7, number 8, number 9. Pratyaksha Anumana Agamah Pramanani, Vipariyo Mithya Jnanam Atadrupa Pratishtam, Shabda Jnana Anupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpa. These 3 sutras are fascinating basis of Indian science, but also modern science. Fascinating basis. There is nothing beyond those 3 in modern science. None. How many of you knew that? Or how many of you would have thought that Yoga Darshana has that? Okay. Now, this is our problem. When I presented in few places, Chinmaya was one, they said, sir, please, you want to do modern science? Go ahead and do it. Please don't touch Yoga Darshana. What do you mean? the dichotomy between science and religion is in the West. And when Shilpi Tiwari introduced me, they said, like little bit of this, we have this. No, there is no difference. In fact, there is absolutely no difference between science and Dharma. The objective is the same, the tools are the same, no difference. Now, over time, we might have confused some things, but there is no difference. Sankhya, everyone knows in Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya is same as yoga. You know that ekam sankyam cha yogam cha yapashyati sapashyati, right? So Sankhya Mahabharata verse says all the knowledge, most of the knowledge, 99.99% of the knowledge is due to Sankhya that we have, or it was there 7,500 years ago when Mahabharata was written. Okay, Yoga, those three sutras that I just read to you, I'm putting it there. Some of you who understand see the beauty of it. Now, yoga is very, very old. Okay, so I mean, we can say easily say more than 7,500 years ago. Kapila, Sankhya is already mentioned. Those three sutras I gave. Now, in the context, how many of you are science degrees, like some kind of science degree, physics, chemistry, biology, whatever it is, engineering? Yeah, okay, all right, a lot of them. So you should be able to relate to that very well. You might have heard the name Francis Bacon. In the West, he is considered like a father of a science, Now, he actually got many things wrong, by the way, because in spite of that, he was still thinking Earth is at the center until Copernicus, okay? But his statement is very interesting. He's saying truth emerges quicker from error than confusion. And I have underlined three words. The first one, the pratyaksha anumana agama pramanani, is the way to get to the truth. The second line, viparyayo mithya jnanam atadrupa pratishtan, is how you get to the error. Mithya jnan means error. And the third one says shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo vikalpa. Meaning, you are making a claim. Very important for every one of us to listen, because I hear a lot of that with that shraddha, only shraddha or andhashraddha, but no corresponding evidence. Shabda jnananupati, there is a claim, but there is no backing evidence in support of that claim. Shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo, there is no evidence. It leads to vikalpa, confusion and delusion. Now, do you see that very interesting statement from Francis Bacon? It says, truth emerges quicker from error. So, mithya jnana is not such a big problem. But if the person is completely confused with the claim, even doesn't understand that if one makes a claim, there has to be evidence to show it, it's a demand of our dharma. We cannot just simply use the statement and saying, Arey, because it is written in the book, it is true. Do you know what Shankaracharya says? Right at the beginning, if you read the Brahma Sutra commentary. Jnanam na purusha tantram, kintu vastu tantram. The knowledge does not depend on the opinions of individuals. It only depends on the objective truth. Nothing else. Nothing else will be acceptable. Okay? All right, and you have seen that verse. Okay, this is the remaining two. Jaimini's Karma Mimamsa. Okay, and then the last one, Vedanta, you would have heard, or Vedanta Darshanam. Okay, now look at there, Athato Brahma Jidnyasa, or in the Jaimini's Karma Mimamsa Darshan, or known as Mimamsa, Athato Dharma Jidnyasa. There is another problem, right? I mean, few people here, if you have forcefully brought your friend with you, he must be thinking, when is this going to be over and let's get out of it, right? Unless you have your own curiosity, this will not really help, that's what it's saying. Don't bother telling this, it will not work, because it's not easy. It's not easy to learn that. It's not easy. I mean, why we only feel challenged when it comes to our Shastra? How many of you think quantum mechanics is easy? It's not easy. Newton's theory is not easy. Honestly, I mean, I'm also through math, science stream. How many of you truly understand Newton's theory and Kepler's theory? How many of you have truly understood the equation? Not really, other than F equal to ma and pass the exam, right? All right. So now how do we use this? So what I said is, we have this science background, the Western science. Now we looked at the Dharma Shastra, the Darshanas, just focusing on the Darshanas. How do we use it? What I'm going to show you, you may know this is known Japanese way, this is known as Ikigai. How many of you have heard the name Ikigai? Okay, very good. So essentially, I'm going to first finish the Ikigai. Okay, this is Ikigai. Okay, so what you want to, if you want your life to be peaceful, happy, not many conflicts, you enjoy what you do, what you want to start with is what you love, what you are good at, Okay, that kind of tells you what you're passionate about. Then what you are good at and what you want, what you might get paid for, decide the profession. You said, okay, here is, do this, don't go, there is not much scope for this discipline right now, that kind of thinking. That's how we end up doing degrees. And then, you can see the overlapping, what the world needs. That kind of comes afterwards, Okay, what I have done is, I have superimposed the dharmic concepts on it. For example, directional translation, the passion as a guna, the profession as a karma, the mission as a dharma, and vocation as a artha. Artha, of course, is a money, but also means meaning. You understand, like artha as a meaning. Okay. Now, our varnashram system, now again, that also gets a lot of beating, and so we also confuse much. But that's a very, very scientific way of looking at it. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. Now we have got stuck into it, just whoever you are born to and so on. But guna karma vibhagasha, guna karma, isn't it nice that you are passionate about it and you are good at it, and then that's what you end up doing? That's the best thing to have, right? If you do this, these are the outcomes. You will be very content, prasannata, kartavya, your duty. You will able to be useful to the society. You will be useful to your family, useful to yourself, useful to society, if you do this. Then yogakshema, so because you enjoy what you do, and if you found the right way, it will also provide for your sustenance. And mukti, you don't have to worry about mukti. It just happens. If you do all this, that will just happen. Okay, it's like a fruit ready to fall off. And that's the definition of a sthita prajna. Now people say, what happened to karma, jnana, bhakti? Well, any of these, you need this. You need to do some duty, you need a knowledge in order to do it, and you need that shraddha and reverence, that, have that conviction, this is going to work out for me. Okay, so those are the circles of this. Quickly, I'm showing, in the Western world, you would have seen, you would have heard of Abraham Maslow and his triangle. Roti, kapda, makan at the basis, anna, vastra, nivara, and then it goes into security and recognition and self-actualization. That's a very reductionist view. I'm not saying it's a dharmic view, but there is a parallel. And you can actually map those on a Ikigai. For example, I'll just go fast through this. I have another talk explaining this. So you can actually match those steps with a varnashram. Now, something interesting. Varnashram, those are different. Ashramas and varna also. But there is a one baseline rules for everyone. When we talk of Veda Pramanya, anyone quickly, what is your understanding of Veda Pramanya? When you hear, oh, Veda Pramanya, हमारे लिए वेद प्रमाण है, what does that mean? Many definitions, I'm not saying one. Okay. According to the Vedic concepts, okay?
That they have to be now defined what are the Vedic.
Correct. Now we get into those trouble, right? And then that is correct. Now what happens is, many people will take literally the way it is written in the Vedas and the way I interpret or somebody interprets. That's how it is truth, and that's what Veda Pramanya is. You will find many acharyas talking about Veda Pramanya, not in that sense at all. Veda Pramanya means the basic common minimum program. The common minimum program, which is what the conviction into Niti Dharma. So, for example, it doesn't matter which varna you are in, and I'm not giving a lecture on the varna, I'm going to move on, but which varna you are in, there is a very standard program. For example, everyone knows this: ahimsa, satyam, asteya, akama, krodha, lobhata, meaning akama, akrodha, alobhata. Okay? Bhuta priya hitehacha, dharmoyam sarva varnika. So, ahimsa, satya, asteya, chori nahi karna. Akama, akrodha, alobhata, and bhuta priya hite, always thinking of the well-being of the whole living entities, not just human beings. That is a duty, that is a basic moral fiber of all the varnas. It's not like given for somebody else, okay? And I'll skip that, but you can also see that for all ashramas, there is also a common minimum program. It doesn't matter which particular situation you are in. In fact, it ends with mano vak kaya sanyama. So sanyam of a mind, sanyam of a speech, and sanyam of a body is for all ashramas. Okay? No exception. All right. So now I was telling some of you, this is the framework that I used in my 25-30 years of research. Okay, inside the triangle, what you are seeing is what we call the scientific method, the logic of scientific discovery. Okay, that's what people in the West, everyone will understand. We must understand because it is of our stuff. प्रत्यक्ष अनुमान आगम प्रमाणानि प्रत्यक्ष अनुमान उपमान शब्द प्रमाणानि लौकिक परीक्षकाणाम यस्मिन् अर्थे बुद्धि साम्यम सदृष्टांत द वैल्यू ऑफ अ दृष्टांत ओके and swapratipaksh sthapana hino vitanda if you are objecting to someone but you don't have your own alternate position for the same problem and you are discussing it, you are doing vitanda. These are the Nyaya Darshana epithets. Okay, so at the top you need Vijnan Buddhi. I mean, this is a very soft thing. It's not like cannot be described, only it can be explained when you do things. Tantra Yukti, like a technological way of doing it, and then Tarka Shastra. Okay, and I'm going to show you a small clip afterwards at the end of the speech. Okay, I had small clips on both, but I'll play one. On both those clips were Mr. Bean. How many of you have watched Mr. Bean? Okay, so they both were from that, but I'll show you the one for Tarka Shastra, which is many of us struggle. Okay, so to explore the middle 5 points, I have just expanded. This is the framework. It doesn't matter what you are doing, which problem in the world you are solving. I like with Swamiji, we discussed something like, he's working on and, trying to do something. Doesn't matter. Medicinal, health problem, agriculture, technology, science, doesn't matter. This is the network. That's science, okay? And it comes from our Shad Darshanas, okay? So truth, what we are going to do, best approximation to the truth. And scientific, we say more likely versus less likely. It's a minimization of an error. Would you agree? As the technology grows, we are removing the errors. Even the best successful theory of science, I said cosmology. So it started with Ptolemy in the West world. Then Copernicus came and he said sun is at the center, not the earth. Then Kepler came and he said, that's all true, but the orbits are not circular, they are elliptical. Newton came and said, well, there is a relationship between them. Two bodies, there is attractive force and so on. Then Einstein came and said, Newton, you are wrong. There are some other things happening. You see, it slowly goes on progressing. The reason I'm mentioning is, it uses the same approach, minimization of error. Now, you will be amazed to know that Upanishad talk about it. What the modern science doesn't tell you is, why are you doing this? Now, they will tell you why they are doing it. For example, they will say, which is true, why people do science. Like some of the people, likes of Einstein, they will be totally busy doing this all the time. Just like I spend my time studying Ramayana, Mahabharata, Rigveda. Why do you think they might be doing it, or me? Because they get joy. That's simple, right? The rapture of living, happiness, they feel content, they feel excitement, that is there. There is something beyond that Upanishad tells us. For example, Mundaka Upanishad, Satya, and you'll see this every Upanishad, Satyena labhyas tapasa yesha atma. He says, in order to get Atma Jnana, to know who you are, the Atma Darshan, you need Satya. If you ask the scientists, but which subject you guys do science? What would be their answer? He says, it doesn't matter. Pick whatever excites you. Science can be done anywhere. Same thing Upanishad is saying. It's not saying Satya about what. It says Satyena labhyas. Your behavior, what you are doing, what you are searching must be dedicated to Satya. Satyena labhyas tapasa yesha atma. Then only you are going to get to Atma. And the another thing is required is a tapasya, tapascharya. Samyak jnanena brahmacharyena nityam. 4 things are required. And if you do this, then what happens? Antasharire jyotirmayo hi shubhra. Aapko Atma ka darshan ho jayega. Yam pashyanti yataya kshina dosha. Forget other thing. I want you to remember kshina dosha. How amazing and scientific word that is. When the minimization of fault happens in that individual, not elimination of faults, minimization of faults, you can still get the Atma Jnana. Are you with me? That is exactly scientific approach. The aeroplane that is flying, do you think it's flying everything perfectly? Actually not. The car that you're driving, it's not. But it's still capable of taking you from A to B safely. Same thing, it can happen. So that kshina dosha, the minimization of error, just I had a discussion with somebody and he said, finding the truth is not an optimization problem, he said. And I wasn't saying anything like that. But when he said it, I liked it because I said, well, let me tell you, it is nothing but optimization problem. Kshina dosha. You're not going to get perfection. Now, have you heard this? Try for a perfection, you will end up with excellence. If not, then remember this, Try for perfection, you end up with excellence. So, good enough. Excellence is good enough, right? Okay. This is quick summary of my work. This is some 25 plus years of work. If you look at there, 0, that's us here, 21st century. If you go back this 0, what is this 0? Christ. Okay, so now if you don't want Christ, then what you do is you attach a attach a E at the end of BC. If it's a BC, that's before Christ. If it's a BCE, before Common Era. Now we are all stuck with that calendar, and eventually we may able to get rid of it, maybe not, but we have to use that calendar for many reasons. Okay, don't get just so emotional. Oh, when are we? I mean, I get this because of this. Nileshji, why are you? I mean, all good, I like this, but you using the Gregorian calendar, I don't like it. I said, give me alternate one. I'll start using the next day. Then they disappear on social media. Okay, so my quickly work was based using astronomy evidence, like this Mahabharata in 5561 BCE, Ramayana in 12,209 BCE, and then Rigveda. The current Rigveda that we have, we can show that the last portions of it are same time as Mahabharata. Okay, and when you go backwards, the Rigveda has a 10 mandalas. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1 through 10. The oldest mandalas are not 1, 2, 3. They are the 6, 3, 7. Those are the oldest mandalas. 6, 3, 7, 4, 2, 5, 8, 9, and then long gap and a 10. And all the riches of the first mandalas are all over, right from the oldest to the newest. How do we know that? For example, how many of you know that in the Rigveda that we have, the Shakala Samhita, there are names of Shantanu and Devapi in it? How many of you knew that? The mention of Shantanu is there in the Rigveda. So just few. Who is Shantanu? Father of Bhishma. So you have to think, how did that Shantanu, and Devapi was his brother, and Devapi went to the forest and Shantanu was ruling. How did that get into the Rigveda? Anyone knows why? How did it get into Rigveda? Very good, excellent. Okay, you get 100 brownie points, whoever said that. Because Vyasa compiled it, Vyasa edited, recasted, and so on. Okay, and then so that's what happens. Now, what this does is, again, many people say, so what does the chronology has to do with? I mean, so chronology good, but हमें तो फिर spiritual पे focus करना है. That is another blunder. If you want to focus on certain thing, that's fine. But if you are thinking, therefore, this is useless, you haven't even started Dharma, understanding of a Dharma. You will not find more accurate chronology or chronological clues in any other place in their history. In fact, Greek or Roman, you will find totally BS, 100% BS. They have almost nothing to little evidence, but they have written tomes on it. And we have so much evidence that we haven't even touched, and 100 people working for 100 years will not able to even scratch the surface. And we say, well, we don't have evidence. I mean, they told us, we accepted. Okay. One of my friend, he's a British consultant, a good sense of humor. He said, Nilesh, I love this, and he has read my books and whatnot. He said, please enter a point there for European Enlightenment. Okay, that you see that European. So he said, when is it? He said, go to Wikipedia, 1600 whatever. And so the reason it helps is it allows us to see the alternate claims about our civilization, very disastrous claims, in that light. Against this 1,000+ empirical evidence based from dozen+ different disciplines of science, we have this chronology. Against that, what the Aryan invasion theory is saying? Guys, you have nothing here. Just don't unnecessarily argue with us. It started right there and you are here. Invasion after invasion. Okay, that is that bracket. There is a second bracket. That is our problem, guys. Okay, today, how many of you happen to read Dr. Anil Narayanan's article in India Facts? It came this morning. You read it? Oh, wow. Excellent. Okay. So he is talking about why that everyone remembers that number, 3102 BCE, that is the beginning of Kali Yuga, and we fight all along. He has explained why that is a basis for a calendrical. It's a Kala Yuga, like starting of a calendar. And we can find that, but not to be confused with the Kali Yuga that we hear from Bhagavad Puran or Mahabharata or so on. Okay. So that's another Yuga dogma, but it doesn't necessarily stop there. We just say Kali Yuga began there. But then you start talking about Ramayana, like how many of you have an objection to my Ramayana date there? Like 12,000 meaning what? 14,000 years ago. Please be very frank, like open. Come on, what are you talking? This happened like 27 Mahayuga or million years ago. Dwapar, Treta Yuga mein ho gaya, to 432,000 times twice is Dwapar Yuga, in between 864,000 and so on. Okay. Yuga has many definitions. So that's another dogma that we are stuck with. And then the last one, so the Indic, that's also kind of tough one, because that is our people, but they are also stuck with the 8,000 BC and afterwards. Even to them, why that happens? Sometimes people think, अरे आर्यन इन्वेजन से हम 3,500 ईयर से लेके 8,000 जा रहे हैं तो बहुत कुछ कर लिया, ओके, बट ज़्यादा नहीं करते, वो लोग ऑब्जेक्ट करने लगेंगे, No, if you have a truth, you can go anywhere, the evidence can take you anywhere. All right. Quickly, these are my books. Just move. Okay. Now I want to show you a couple of things that I talked about. Amati, Kshuddha, Abhishastu. Remember? Okay. The Amati, like mind, having the proper mind. Kshuddha, hunger, like basic necessities, prosperity, and Abhishastu, meaning disease and health, and maintaining that. So what was the India's contribution to that? As a dharma tradition. Prosperity, we talked about the Vaisheshika Darshan, the first sutra, second sutra. Yato abhyudaya nishreyasa siddhi sadharma. Learning the techniques, developing the expertise to earn prosperity, get to the prosperity is dharma. Okay? With all the other things. Ahimsa, satyamasteya, kama, krodha, lobhata, bhuta, priya, hiteya, cha, All right. How old is agriculture in India? Now we had some discussion, so you may not answer. Anyone else? How old is agriculture, you think? What are the other guys telling us about our agriculture? First thing they said what? It started in the Turkey, and then it came here 7,000, 8,000 years ago is when it started there, it came here. We have tons of evidence coming. These are 2 papers from Sri Lanka. There is evidence of agriculture or harvesting. Because if everything is available in the forest, you don't have to do anything, then you don't have to necessarily plant anything. Just pluck the fruits and come home. Okay? That is also possible. So this paper, it takes you peer-reviewed, all that people worry, where is the peer-reviewed paper? Well, yeah, don't make a big fuss about peer-reviewed, but this is peer-reviewed. It takes you back to, can you guess, 43,000 years, 43,000 BC, so 45,000 years in Sri Lanka. The harvesting of products, fruits, grains, etc., 45,000 years ago. If you look at second paper by same author, another place, a very wonderful evidence of agriculture in Sri Lanka, 16,000 BC, around 18,000 years ago. The reason I'm saying that is, our tradition of agriculture is very, very ancient. It didn't come from Turkey. If at all, we would have given it to Turkey. Okay. Now, something else. I'm talking of prosperity, guys. Okay. What is the other one? What is the other way to get become prosperous? One is grow, right? Increase your wealth. What else? Commerce, trade. Okay. Indians were phenomenal navigators. Phenomenal. Okay. So this one is saying, I just want to give you one line there. This is by, I forgot the name, Arnold, He has said, shipbuilding was a well-established craft at numerous points along the Indian coastline long before the arrival of Europeans. In fact, another one, and you can go to Wikipedia and read that, just the last line. He says, the ships constructed at Bombay in its heyday were said to be vastly superior to anything built anywhere else in the world. Now, because some non-Indian is saying it, I think no one should have objection accepting it. Okay? Now, something interesting. What is it?
Fuel for the ships.
Let's not go there. All kinds of fuel. Okay? Now, the Treaty of Nanking, because British now wanted, to exploit these, have a monopoly in comparison to the other powers like Spain and whatnot, they made a treaty with the Bombay ship dock workers. There was expertise from Surat all the way to Calicut and Cochin and everyone of the building. And so why? Just like they did it to the textile industry, the ore industry, the mining industry, they wanted to do the same thing, take the controls. Okay, so that's what you see. Quick story. When, my friend, when I worked for General Electric for 16 years and, I was in sales, but there was another engineering guy. We used to go frequently for lunch. And so when we were going together, his name Bob Belanger, and he was so excited. So, this is like 10, 12 years ago. I'm fascinated. And he said, oh God, I did not know that India was so good at shipbuilding and something, And guess what? I also did not know. Huh? So I said, what is he talking? Which ship, what, And he was just fascinated. He said, yeah. I said, okay, well, is there a book or something that I can read? He said, just go to Wikipedia. And just type this. And the reason he was asking is he was something into like he will build his own car, like take an old car and build it. He used to build his own aeroplane. Okay, very good friend of mine. I said, well, still I won't sit in that aeroplane. Okay, but so he was looking for some techniques from that shipbuilding, and that's how he found it. Okay, now if you want to do agriculture and if you want to do trade, navigation, what else do you need as a science? What else you need to do it? Weather prediction, excellent. Maps, directions, maps, directions, everything. Okay. Currents, absolutely. Okay, lots of things. Astronomy. So all these things are correct. I'm going to pick the astronomy from it. So this one is from Surya Siddhanta. Okay. So it says, but pay attention. I'm almost done. Okay. Atyasanna tayatena grishme tivra kararave deva bhage suranam tu hemante mandatanyatha. Like when we read something in Sanskrit, we say, अच्छा उसमें क्या science है? उसमें क्या है? ऐसा कुछ तो लग रहा है नमस्कार करो. At the end of the श्लोक नमस्कार करने का. Right? That's what we think. Maximum, namaskaromi, akshatam, samarupayami. We don't think anything is beyond that. I'm going to show you how fascinating this is. And when I presented this at Oxford University, I mean, obviously, just myself and another, everyone else was non-Indian. But when I showed them the conclusion, they didn't like it. And you'll see why. And they were foaming and frothing at the mouth. Okay, just like one guy, just saying, don't know what to do and stuff like that. Okay, but let's see if what happens to you, and if you recognize it, and if you believe it. Now there's nothing to believe. That's the reference. Okay, if you take that verse, I will not go into it. You can go and watch my Rligion talk in a very detail, or read a paper on, I think, India facts. Okay, Swarajya India facts, one of those. There was a very unique situation. There are references in Surya Siddhanta, and if you want to put them together like a jigsaw puzzle, okay. The references, what it is saying, that verse is saying is sun is the closest to the earth during Grishma and the farthest from the earth during Hemanta. Now they are not talking about the angle, they are talking about the actual distance of the earth and sun. And because the orbits are elliptical, somewhere it is closer to the sun, closer to the earth, and somewhere it is farther to the earth. Okay. What is interesting is that what that is said in the verse is not the case today. If you want to figure out, if you're going backwards, when was the last time you had a scenario like this? Do you know how far back you have to go? But before I show you that, let me show you something else. That particular verse, if you understand and interpret, it can be shown visually like this. And do you know what this is? Any physics graduates here? Kepler. Kepler's law, which is in the 16th, 17th century there, that Kepler came up with the law saying that the orbits are not circular, but the orbits are elliptical. Okay, and what that I'm showing you there, the blue, I will not go into technical language, but that is Kepler's law 1, 2, and 3. Kepler's law, 16th century, 17th century, guys. Now I'm going to show you the timing of this verse, or where this verse from Surya Siddhanta takes you. Because there are some additional verses, it says there were two pole stars, one in the north, one in the south. And then that peak of Hemanta was there and peak of Grishma was there, okay, and something else. It says the inclination of the axis, which is right now 23.5 or so, it was 24, it says. Very, very precise. There is no approximation. 1397 is the R sign, if there are math major here. And the radius of Surya Siddhanta for the earth, like axis, is 3438. It's very, very precise numbers. You can refer to 24.01, 23.97, and so on. It's possible. And it takes you to 12,000 BC. Hang on to your chairs, guys, okay? I don't want you to fall off. 12,000 BC, 14,000 years ago. Now think of agriculture evidence. Think of the navigation evidence. If they are doing it this long, then they also need astronomy. When to sow the seeds, when to harvest. This is for agriculture. And then going around the world, you need a North Pole star, you need to know other stars, their specific positions, a time of the year, keeping a clock, because once you go out, right, you have to adjust. Even we struggle when we travel, So it was there. So this is, and if you go back, I just showed you one, but there are series of updates into Surya Siddhanta. And these are only maybe 20 verses that we have explored out of, we'll get to question answer. Updates meaning, say, Panchang, for example. Right now we say Ashwini is the first nakshatra, and Makar Sankranta, meaning Uttarayan, is on the 14th January. Basically, we should have updated it. It's a time for update. We should have corrected it and say, no, it's not 14th January, it's 21st September. Sorry, 21st December. Or Ashwini is no longer a first nakshatra. It is actually close to Purva Bhadrapada. Ashwini, Revati, Uttara Bhadrapada, Purva Bhadrapada. Right now the point of spring equinox, Vasanta Sampat, is between Uttara Bhadrapada and Purva Bhadrapada. So suppose existing Panchang exists. Now somebody makes those corrections. Suddenly, 14 January goes to 21st, and then first nakshatra is somewhere, we will make the note. But the old Panchanga will also survive. And 5,000 years down the road, they will look at us and say, who are these idiots? Who are these people who are confusing us? Like, sometimes they say 14 January, sometimes they say 21st December. Sometimes they say Ashwini is the first nakshatra, and some documents they say Uttara Bhadrapada or Purva Bhadrapada is the first nakshatra. Are you with me? And that allows us to figure it out. In fact, Makar Sankranta allows us to figure it out when that tradition started. It started like 1800 years ago. Astronomically, we can figure it out. Similarly, those verses, some of the specific things, latitude measurements of nakshatra, they do not make sense for today. So we say, when would have made these measurements, just like when the Ashwini would have been the first nakshatra, why folks would have celebrated on 14th of January, right? So on. So when we go backwards, we can find those. They actually go back to like 14,500 BC, so like 17,000 years. Multiple corrections. And this is only 20 verses out of 500. Who knows what else is out there? Okay. Inside this. Quickly, disease, epidemics and medicine. Now we are used to modern medicine. Granted, we say Ayurveda. How many of you take Ayurvedic medicine? Okay. Kudos to you. All right. Okay. Oh, everyone. Yeah. Now, excellent. Now, how many of you? Nothing wrong, guys. How many of you go into allopathy? Okay. Excellent. So what the point I want to make it is, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. Like allopathy has also done tremendous job when it comes to anesthesia, operations. They have taken from us, but they have done. Yeah, creating emergency or handling emergency. Right, handling emergency also, right? Or antibiotics. So like not to be discounted completely. In fact, I will just take 1 minute and say, we have to also recognize the limitations of other approaches, learn about our approaches, but also get out of the dichotomy, like them versus us in terms of science, So Gregorian calendar, why are you using Gregorian calendar? And then they run away when say which calendar I should use, That's very tamasic, guys, extremely tamasic. Just don't think somehow it has to be Indian and something has to be done, We have to design a calendar, try designing, okay? You will have at least mental diarrhea. It's that difficult, okay? All right. So looking at the disease, epidemics and medicine, that is that Abhishastu. I'm just using this and I'm going to run fast through this. So this is the timeline. Against this timeline, it gives a context and therefore I'm stating it. I'm going to show you 3 cases quickly. There is a whole independent talk on this, okay, somewhere else on these 3 cases in detail. So just from a medicine field, I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3. The first one is a cure. The first one is a prevention. Second one is a cure. And the third one is a example of patient management. Okay. And there is another example I could give myself is a recovery, but that will take time. So I'll skip it for today. Okay. Yesterday morning, suddenly I felt under the weather. Everyone understands under the weather, and of course, traveling, that happens. But something that I'm practicing comes from Ayurveda. I won't tell you today. Even if you hold a gun to my head, I won't tell you. But I just started that. And I'm back here. I was very horrible yesterday morning. But I have done this before. I'm practicing it for a long time. I knew I would be just fine. But I'll just show you these 3 quickly examples. Smallpox. Everyone knows, smallpox now is just gone, eradicated. If you think of smallpox and inoculation, what name comes to your mind? Jenner, right? Edward Jenner, excellent. 100 brownie points, whoever said that, okay? Edward Jenner, what did he do? Came up with the inoculation, cow vaccination, in cow, it's called Waka. Okay, that's why vaccination. By the way, just so that you know, the Waka comes from Sanskrit too. Guys, those people who know Rigveda, Wak, guys, cows' footprints, that's that. Anyways, so smallpox inoculation, this is the story that has been told, and that's a correct story. Edward Jenner was born in 1739. He went to school, became a doctor 1792, started doing cowpox experiments, on the vaccination, and then he administered to some. That's the story we know. Edward Jenner, smallpox vaccination, Edward Jenner. Here is a story, I'm going very fast. There is a documented evidence. Of course, that means not to say that there was nothing before, but the documented evidence that is found shows that 1500s India had a well-established program of a inoculation. Okay, the word was used slightly different. It was not vaccination, okay, but a well-established program of taking care of smallpox. Okay, and a very sophisticated system. I'll just not have a time to go through it. To the extent, in 1600s, the Europeans thought of that as a skin condition. So the pustules come, right? And the pus. They didn't relate to the virus or what the true condition is. They just thought of this as a skin condition, and therefore their treatment was essentially a mistreatment. They just tried to see, put something so that it gets better. It didn't get better. People died. Okay. To the extent, that there were people who were working, British people working in India, try to see here how successful it was. How many of you have heard in a business world Six Sigma? Some of you, right? I mean, I'm a Six Sigma teacher, by the way, and lean and whatnot. The performance of the Indian inoculation method was better than Six Sigma. Okay? So these people like Dr. Robert Colt, he wrote from here telling those guys, follow this method. You will save some lives there. But they were not ready to listen. Of course, one thing was coming from a brown guy, but even there was a lot of dogma there, like that. There was another effort, a very detailed paper, Holwell, he wrote about the efficacy of Indian inoculation. And he said our folks meaning the British folks in Kolkata, because that's where they had a stronghold at that time, right? He said they have survived and we haven't lost a single individual during the smallpox epidemic thanks to the Indian method of inoculation. You will see these words in his paper. This is written when? 17 that. Now what is sad, what is interesting, and you have to understand this strategically, you have to understand this. Again, science helps you, or Dharma, or helps you in a scientific or strategic, both. In 1802, when this Jenner's vaccination came, and that was a good thing. I mean, we should cherish that, by the way. It doesn't matter where it comes from. They banned the traditional Indian method of smallpox inoculation. Why? Chiching. Okay, to just have a control and whatnot. Okay, and if somebody objects to it, they will write essays, they will write books to justify that, even then. But that even continues now. I mean, I have papers from 1981 to 2012, guys, still denying the Indian origin of inoculation. I mean, that's the kind of thing going in the underground, You cannot be novice, you cannot be simpleton, you cannot be juvenile when you read stuff, when you watch stuff, and try to make sense of it. All right. Shitala, the goddess related to the Shitala Mata, so I will just skip through that. What she has, in one hand she has a broom, other hand she has the pot. Do you know what those pot is for and the broom? That we call it tika afterwards, of course, the modern method. That's how, this is the culture of the smallpox. And then, using that broom, one individual stem, that's how it was administered. A wound was made and it was given there. They went through a Ayurveda type prescription thing, not eating certain things. So if you liked fish, you are not allowed to eat fish for like 10 days or 15 days or a month until that became fixed. And the rate was very good. But I want to take you quickly even back. That reference, I mean, it even goes back to Mahabharata, which I have dated to, I told you, right, 55-61 BC. By the way, as a chronology, the way I simply give a mantra to remember the mnemonics is, pade pata hai na, multiplication table hum karte the, so 7 ka pada hai wo. 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 3 is 21. Mahabharata 7,000 years ago, Ramayana 14,000 years ago, and Rigveda oldest portion 21,000 years ago. Can you remember that? If you only remember this lecture is worth, okay? But you find the reference to that even in Mahabharata. Now this is rhinoplasty, nose job. Okay? This one again, if somebody is not aware and somebody is into this, he says, ye kya padne ka? Jada namaskar karo, phul chadao aur namaskar karo. What this is showing from Sushrut Samvida is how to perform the nose operation. When the nose is gone, how to put an artificial nose, like a rhinoplasty. This became so popular, it was known as a Indian flap method. Quickly, just to show you what they did. the Westerner, everyone was doing operation, but they used to take a skin from the cheek or somewhere or the thigh and put it there. But the skin used to dry very fast. The Indian method, the one that is described on the previous page, and I'm going to show you how old that method is. They did not cut the skin completely. In fact, they took the flap from here because, gravitationally it helps. If you take a flap from here, it will sort of against the gravity. But here, it just naturally comes here. You put it on. You don't cut completely. So there is a living tissue. The skin is living. So it doesn't dry up. That was the Indian method that I showed you on the previous page. And if you want to know how old is that, this is our work. Again, there is a talk at Oxford that I gave. It is also a Rligion talk. Essentially, we can say that we don't know exact timing of Sushrut, but Sushrut was definitely more than 7,500 years ago. We don't know how old. It can go anywhere. Okay. All right. Quickly, last one. Who is this? Kumbhakarna. Now, I'm going to show you the biggest enemy or the hardest enemies that we face are not outside. They are here, among us. This is my research on the Kumbhakarna. Everyone knows about Kumbhakarna, the famous things. What is he? Sleeping all the time, eating a lot. Everyone knows that. I'm going fast through this. 6 months sleeping, 1 day awake, or 6 months awake, again sleeping. There are various things, right? He was very big, strong, powerful, but used to eat a lot, drink a lot, and sleep longer. Now, what you would have thought? Even I thought the same thing, because it's a poetry. Ramayana is a Arsha Kavya, Mahabharata is a Arsha Kavya. That could be exaggeration. This is how we have to start thinking. What if it is not exaggeration? Like a Brahmastra, when we lazily sit and say, oh, Brahmastra, wo to atom bomb, nuclear bomb tha. No, that is a total tamas. We have to work, we have to look at the Brahmastra description, do something about it. So, arey haan, kuch to hoga, pata nahi, wo bhi tamas hai. So, I said, what if this is true? And then, long story, but I was working on some medical product, medical cream. I was reading everything about the sleep literature, like sleep problems and whatnot, because the cream was like related to that. And I came across one case study. So you have to ask some questions, because if you don't, then either I did not tell you anything new or you haven't understood anything. Let's go here.
You mentioned about the Ikigai, there are these 4 circles. I believe that, for example, I didn't have the occasion to read Vedas, but lots of things resonate when you merge all the 4 circles and make it as a lived experience. So, an emic experience rather than an etic experience. So, I think there is a collaboration, between the Indology, because you may not have had the occasion, not being in India and lots of other things. So I want to share at some time that would it make a big difference if we collaborated and corrected the course. For example, I just cut to your chase of the CA discourse or the JNU episode. See,
don't go there. Just get to the question.
But the question is that you may give the gyan, but it is not vigyan to me. You may give the religion, but it is not dharma to me, because it's not coming from a lived experience. That's the
Correct. That is everyone understands. That is absolutely correct. There is another problem also. I mean, many. Bhagavad Gita is again another text to read for that. Even if you tell something, everyone understands, but there will be 5 people who will not understand, or they will completely misunderstand 180 degree. And that happens all the time. I mean, everyone has that experience. But it used to frustrate me to no limits. I said, अरे इतना simple है, बच्चों को 6 year को समझ रहा है, आप तो इंडोलॉजी में काम कर रहे हैं, आपको एस्ट्रोनॉमी भी आती है और आपको ये पता नहीं चल रहा है. Right? Maybe I wasn't reading Bhagavad Gita enough. If you go to 18.32, it says, Adharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasavruta sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhi sa partha tamasi. So, if your buddhi is tamasi, so everything you will see 180 degree opposite. Okay? Not that other disease that I am talking. What do you call that? The people see the letters ulta, Dyslexia. So maybe something mental dyslexia here, But it happens. And I'm not saying that solves the problem. But that solves the problem for you. You feel content. कि भाई मैंने मेरा काम कर लिया, उसको नहीं समझ रहा है तो नमस्कार. Okay? All right. So we will talk. And that's what your point is correct. I mean, there is nothing more to talk. What you said is absolutely correct. But there is an internal problem also. Even if emic, etic, but some person will just not understand. I think we have to move on, because जैसे 130 के क्या नंबर है, करोड़ है हमारे पास, तो क्यों चिंता करो 2 लोगों की, Yeah. Next. Yeah.
if you watch the chronology, you can see that roughly after 800, there are no more research or anything new coming out in our tradition or in our ancient. That thing has stopped somewhere.
After 800
800 AD.
AD, huh?
You say the whole thing stopped, means
Huh.
we have not written any new Upanishad,
Huh.
any development.
Okay.
So the
No, but-
earlier
huh.
the actually it is like quantum mechanics, difficult to understand for everybody, but many people study quantum mechanics because it's profitable. So the protection of government or the Raj Satta was responsible for all these researches and
No, ask
it
the
is not
question. I mean, it's just a comment. Comment is
yeah.
also okay.
No, so what's the way out? How can we make it profitable? That's the question.
Okay.
Because unless
Yeah, fair. You went on a bit tangent on different one, but I mean not tangent meaning you didn't do anything wrong. There are two questions there. But the first thing I want to challenge that is that nothing happened after 800 AD. That's not correct. There is a tons of stuff. Of course, granted, remember Nalanda, remember Takshashila burning.
particularly after Shankaracharya, nothing means of that nature has happened.
What nature?
Means, for example, Sankhya, Vaisesika, all these Darshanas.
Ah.
Then Shankara wrote excellent commentaries, and he popularized and gave the concept of Advait in a
Okay.
very explainable manner.
And then nothing came out after that.
Nothing significant.
Okay, no, I
Because
mean-
that was the period of this.
Fair. So Shankara's time, I mean, the Westerners tells us 700 AD. I'm saying it's a 500 BC. Not I'm saying many, right? I would say tons of stuff came after Shankara. Even to this day. It's just that, no, we may disagree, but let me respond to that.
Just quote one.
Aha!
Anything.
Which subject?
Any subject, astronomy, agriculture,
Aha.
literature.
Very nice.
Sanskrit literature.
Very nice. Nilakanta Somayaji, Madhava.
No, they are all 700. Madhvacharya.
No, bhai. कौन सा माधवाचार्य नहीं. This is a mathematician Madhava. We are talking 14th, 15th century. Ganesh Daivadnya. We are talking 17. Nilakanta Chaturda, Nilakanta Somayaji. Just on astronomy. No, see, if you are in the just listen to it. You don't have to agree with me. If you are in the denial mode, what will happen is you have locked yourself. So you'll not even listen to what I'm saying. Just listen. You don't have to agree with me. You can go and check those books and see the fascination. Bhaskaracharya 1, Bhaskaracharya 2. Just fascinating stuff down to this day. Okay, why? One person. I mean, I'm standing in front of you. I haven't written everything, but Rohini Shakatabhed. Rohini Shakatabhed, Ganesh Daivadnya has written, Varamir has written, many others, old Garga has written. Garga is also 200, 300 BC, they say, I don't know if the other Garga, not the Krishna Garga. But what I am showing on a Rohini Shakatabheda, in fact, I have not published yet. Okay? The funny thing is, even if I give you the outcome, people will not believe. So I don't worry about people stealing anything.
No, now it's happening.
No, what do you mean? So that's after Shankaracharya. But Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, if you go to Marathi tradition, Jnaneshwara's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and Shankaracharya was a very humble, right? Shankaracharya wrote Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra is a tiger, those people have read it, right? Vayam Bruma, like, what you call, respectful single vachan, whatever they call, Aham Prapte Bruma. But when it comes to Bhagavad Gita, what does he say? Yatne Kriyata Maya, Kriyato Maya. मैं थोड़ा सा प्रयत्न करके रख रहा हूँ बहुत सारा कंफ्यूजन हुआ है दुर्विज्ञार्थम it has become confused so much stuff and so astronomy pick any other field you go to Ayurveda you will find tons of stuff. I also didn't know that, so I'm not saying I also was in some states similar problem as you. When I was in the 9th grade and there was that optics, there was a name of one scientist, and that names I forgot now and you help me, but it was like a Chandrakant Marathe or something, something he did in optics. I was in 9th grade, I remember that, the teacher taught me and I said, "Are ye kaisa ho sakta hai?" Can you tell me why? Because scientist means it has to be a non-Indian name. That time that was like that. So now if you go say take science, Jagdish Chandra Basu, C.V. Raman, you will see that. You pick a field, I will tell you. Say if you take philosophy, like Dhaneshwar, I'm just talking Marathi, but Eknath, the 16th century, fascinating. If you go, Gauda, what do you call, Kolkata, Bengal, Okay, Jiva Goswami is taken. See, what we think, they did something religious. That's what we think. Jiva Goswami is Achintya Bhedabhed Tattva Sandarbha. We think religious. Quantum mechanics scientists at Berkeley are studying Jiva Goswami. So Jiva Goswami is from what? Like Chaitanya's contemporary. So like 16th century. No, 16th century, timing wise. Ramdas Swami, if you read, Dasabodh, you'll fascinate. I mean, something that they are doing, I mean, they are writing in a religious context, but even the science and even some other stuff they are telling is fascinating.
Science, and that is not an issue. Our dharma consists science and everything. So that's not the issue.
Yeah. So just I will cut short and then we can talk offline. But there is a tons of stuff. What is happening is, in terms of we accepting it, or the masses, like, British, whatever, I won't go into that. The British cut those roots and made us so inferior. In fact, I mean, I have traveled around the world, except few countries I have not gone. And I do not find any worse inferior lot, the people who have inferiority complex, than India and Indians. Now, we are smart. But a white person comes, we have to bend. Not say a word, Okay. We will talk about it.
That brings me, as you mentioned, that Indians are actually apologetic about our own traditions. So I would like to ask, if we venture into a territory, for example, now science and religion, my personal comment would be that I perceive that they are slightly different fields, because science is on the trajectory of senses. You verify everything based on sensory authentication. Whereas with the Indian Dharma, it is probably you investigate inside, inwards, and somewhere you realize something. It is a realization when kind of, probably what people tell is that everything opens up and everything starts fitting like a jigsaw.
Okay.
Everything starts fitting into each other.
Yeah.
So from that point, you mentioned about pramana. Now, what happens is, if we start engaging with the others in their field, in their game, maybe they are a little better than us at that game, and we get engrossed in that game. What I would suggest is, in such forums, we should bring those people onto our field. We should tell them that this is the area where we are. So unfortunately, what we see is we are going into their game, and then we are defending
I got it.
ourselves.
Get to the question. Yeah.
The second point is regarding whether objective truth, like we say about objective truth. What is objectivity with respect to science and with spirituality? That area I think we need to investigate and explain a little bit. Thirdly, about the calculations that have been done, they also say, like, we have that concept of Jambu Dweep, then 7 continents drifting away, then India striking into the mainland and Himalayas coming up. So this is a huge period.
Yeah.
We are talking about a huge transit in which the observations of the people, now we are going back in time and corroborating with respect to observations of humans. So these observations are relative with respect to your position on the earth. Now in the earth itself, the platform is moving. So are these calculations, especially in the software models of NASA and we say, are they catering for these movements of the continental drift theory?
I got it.
And lastly,
Fast.
Comment is that we also need to be careful about the economic aspect which you mentioned, that invariably everything in the Western science and Western development is focused on economy, demand, supply, money. Whereas in ours, there was welfare of the people and everybody around. So I think we also need to get back and do our work with respect to welfare. That is our strength, and we should not get into
Okay. I mean, all four great points. Okay, excellent points. I will sort of summarize for the first three as an answer. What you have to do is, I mean, if the question is there a movement taken into account, the Earth's movement? No, it may not be taken into account, but you have to go deeper to understand it doesn't matter. For example, then you didn't ask, but astronomy people say it's a cyclical phenomenon, it happens time and again. You didn't say it, but those even people say it's an innocent statement, it's a juvenile statement. People have not done astronomy. The cyclical phenomenon is there, but there are many phenomena which are not cyclical. You look at my work, like I have 3 books I showed you. You read at it, and just like quantum mechanics, they said, after reading quantum mechanics, if you don't become mad, then you have not understood quantum mechanics. So after reading my books and understanding it, you should not able to sleep for 10 nights. If you sleep, you haven't understood the whole thing of the books.
I have all three. Thankfully, I am not ready.
Yeah, I mean, even when I made the first discovery, I said, is this real? Meaning, I was looking for that one discovery, one shlok for 15 years, but when actually I found it, I said I must have made a mistake. Okay, something like that. But no, I mean, those are the things that you said. Then also it's not ours or theirs, or you said bring those people. We should bring those people. Quickly, I'll come back to questions. Quickly, I'll say, have you heard the story from Upanishad of 10 people traveling? You know where I'm going. Who does not know the story of 10 people traveling? Quickly, I'll say there are 10 guys traveling from destination A to B, like they're going to go through the forest and mountains and whatnot. So they say at certain points we should get together and make a count, make sure that we all are there. Tiger hasn't eaten one. Something like this. So every time they stop, a person takes a count. He says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and every time they wonder what happened to the 10th guy. Then somebody say, why don't you count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But where is the happen to the 10th guy? Do you know the answer? The self. Okay. You know where I'm going with this. I'm doing in my way. Number of you are doing in your own way. We have to get more people to do it. If you're not doing anything, then you have to start doing something. Take something very small, tangible, go do it. If you think, there is no point. I get guys, I have to find out some IT expert to figure it out something. 50 to 100 emails I get. I'm nobody, I'm a small guy. 100 emails saying, sir, now let's research on this. Just suggestive. It's a nightmare. Just to delete, I don't have a time, honestly. Okay, so if you feel so passionate, do it. I'm not saying you, but it's a passionate, do it. But you raise some wonderful points. The thing is, if you start researching, and actually you may find some limitations of this, but that will lead to additional knowledge, additional exciting revolutions. That is for sure. That's how my journey started some 25 years ago. Okay, next. Hold on, no, you don't get the chance. No. Shh. We'll come back, yeah. If in case you wonder, I am a teacher. I can handle 500 people, okay?
So thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful. The reason why I came to this presentation also was a very strong understanding, and it's not a belief, that what you consider as spirituality, I actually consider as science.
Yes.
And it is the truth. It is a factual truth. It is to be determined as the truth. And to respond to your comment on the economics and the economic aspects of science or spirituality, it also grows because human beings do require Lakshmi. So there is no detachment between spirituality and Lakshmi, and they go hand in hand.
Correct.
It is for human benefit.
Yes.
But those are just comments. But specifically, there's a question I wanted to ask.
Just wait a minute. When your turn comes, guys, ask the question, okay? Don't get into comment. The comment is wonderful. Comment is wonderful. But everyone understands ROI, return on investment. So best use of your time and my time is to ask me the question. And the platform exists. Come up with a lecture. There will be another Indic talk.
So a question
now.
A question. So you had very briefly commented on this, and I don't
question,
know.
Please. Just say question starts with what, how, where, why.
So you said something about the
that way we
system.
can cover more questions.
Yeah, you mentioned something about the Varna system, and I don't know if you have a talk on that or if you have done any research on that. But on the Varna system, there was this comment that you made in terms of it is primarily guna based and not birth based. My question is, nowhere in Indian tradition have I seen a Brahmin's child being a Shudra or a Shudra's child ever becoming a Brahmin. They may have adopted some of those other natures like Parshurama, but that transition from one caste to the other does not exist in the scripture. So are we falling into a trap of sort of denying what the Varna system was, and rather than looking at other ways of explaining it?
Yeah, correct question. So everyone understood the question. So are we getting trapped into it? See, again, I don't have an answer to that, but what I'll say is Professor B.N. Bal Gangadhar, if you have heard the name, he has written wonderful books. Do read it. Again, I'm not saying I agree with everything he says. In fact, there is a lot that I completely disagree, but these are wonderful points that he has made, which is you see why the Varna system still exists, not just in India, but even outside. They won't call it Varna because they don't have Bhagavad Gita or our words, but it exists. The class hierarchy, kasta, there is no caste in India. We have these all our problems. I'm not saying Varnashram system does not have problems, but the problems are universal. And what Balagangadhar makes an argument, and it's a very brilliant argument, he said some of the structures survive and sustain because they serve a useful purpose. Whatever it is, and it's a long discussion, so I won't go into that. I would encourage you to read Balagangadhar's books, okay? Hidden in his blindness, and there are few books. So there is some purpose that it serves. That's why they sustain. Now, that's not to say some in our Varna system, the higher guy taking, yeah, that's right, No, I'm not saying that, but there is a purpose, okay? I'll come here and then come back to you.
When he said that there is no work done in the now this after 700 or 7,000 years, how do you rate the book? How do you rate the book, The Holy Science?
Holy Science, how do I rate it? Okay?
Review that.
Yeah.
terms of
Mukteshwar,
work done.
Mukteshwar, yeah, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. How do I rate it? See, first thing you have to read it. I mean, I have read it. How many of you have read it? How many? Thank you. How many of you have read the book? Raise your hands. 2? That's it. Okay. I mean, so what do you think? Quickly, in a brief.
So that's when the work is being done and he is given a different perspective.
That is the point. He has given a perspective. Understand? There are 30 different definitions of a yuga. Swami Mukteshwar says 31st, let's say, just for a simplicity. Each of this, what did Shankaracharya said? Jnanam na purusha tantram kintu vastu tantram. Now, that's a fascinating theory, by the way, and there is a book written on it. Have you read that? The Lost Star. Okay. See, this tapasya means like going deep, 20 levels deeper. I have read Mukteshwar, I have read The Lost Star. I have talked to the author of The Lost Star. The Lost Star has fascinating arguments that goes in support of what Mukteshwar is saying. Having said that, there are many arguments that goes against Mukteshwar's theory. So the thing is open, but somebody has to take it. I mean, this is a Western guy, by the way, the one who wrote Lost Star, and does some wonderful, raise some questions about the existing model for the precession. Amazing. But we need to, and unfortunately it's a 26,000 year model, so we won't be there necessarily. I'll quickly digress and tell you something that happened at JNU. And that's something I want you to refrain from. This won't tell the names, not that any problem. I don't remember the names. I don't know the person first name basis. A medical doctor, famous, all that, has written lots of books. And it's not about him. It's about what he did, or his thing. So he talked about the consciousness model, and everyone knows Annam Brahmeti Vejanat, Prano Brahmeti Vejanat, Mano Brahmeti Vejanat, Vijnana Brahmeti Vejanat, Ananda Brahmeti Vejanat. These are the 5. Anna Kosh, Prana Kosh, and all that, right? Anna is like finally Brahma. So based on that, if you knew this, then you know that that's not new theory. Like here's a theory with the 5 circles. You know what those circles are. No problem with that. Based on that, actually has done a good job in terms of sort of like saying, okay, this is how we need to study. He's a medical doctor, comfortable with equipments. But then he said none of this can be tested. No aspect of his theory can be tested, but with technology it will be tested. Okay, so when the first thing will be tested, he says in 22nd century. Some other aspect will be tested in 23rd century, another in 24th century. This is very similar to Copernicus. Copernicus was so scared that he said, my book is ready, but when I die, you publish it. Okay. See, to make some sense, and sure, everything will not be figured it out, but we have to find the problems which can be solved. So if you have a theory and you know that it cannot be done, then it's not. So for example, in Mukteshwar's case, they are taking measurement of precession. There is the differences that you see, the Lost Star if you read. But that could be another lecture. There are serious problems with that theory. Okay, because what he is claiming that has already happened, that doesn't match. For example, my research conflicts with that theory. So 5561 BC, 12,000, and somebody would say, well, I could be wrong and he could be right. Well, that's a possibility. But based on the evidence, there is a more evidence on my side right now saying this is correct and that is not correct. You follow? But I'm fascinated. Again, I want you to understand. Just because that theory conflicts, I don't say, oh, come on, throw that book. No, I have the book and I'm very fascinated. How he came up with that, and the Lost Star, there is some documentary also made on it. Okay, let's go. How are we doing on time?
So when I was child, I have heard that scientists can make some machine which can find out what has happened in the past, even in the 25.
Well, I will stop you there.
Is it possible, sir?
well, anything is possible if you put hard work. Satyena labhyas tapasa yesha atma samyak jnanena brahmacharyena nityam. जब लोग ब्रह्मचर्य सुनते हैं ना तो बोलते हैं भाई ये हमसे नहीं होगा. You know why? Because brahmacharya is connected with celibacy. That's what we think. That is not the only meaning of that, by the way. How many of you know that? Thank you. That's great. I'm Brahmacharya, Krishna bhi Brahmacharya bolte hai. In fact, if you read in the Mahabharata, when Pandavas and Draupadi, they are going around those 12 years, and many sages, Lomash, Daumya, Vyas, they will come. And the first time they used to meet, they say, how are you? Que pasa? Good stuff, everything cool. And then they used to, part of that, they used to ask Pandavas or others, और आपका Brahmacharya भी अच्छा चल रहा है ना? Okay, I now no time to go into that. You can read Mahabharata, other grantha, you will see. Brahmacharya what is Brahmacharya? I mean, Brahmacharya is a different context. Celibacy could be part of it. In a early, what you call, the first part, 25 years, it could be part of it. Grostha also can be Brahmacharya if you follow certain rules and regulations, something like this. The main idea of Brahmacharya is Brahma, Acharan, to get to the Brahma, which is what? Adhyayan, Swadhyaya, Chintan, Manan, study, contemplation, thinking. That is what is referred to. So back to that, you would have to do it. But just to quick answer, there was this one finance expert, our Indian finance expert. There is a YouTube video you can see that Dr. Manish from a journalist taking interview. Have you not seen that? Very I mean, you will laugh and roll on the floor. That guy is saying, okay, so उधर बाहर गए तो आप ये cloud computing, वो cloud उधर आ गए तो ये हो जाएगा. So you watch that. So what I'm saying is it possible? Lot of things that we think never possible. I mean, now we take it for granted, the wireless phone. Just imagine that, telling somebody 400 years ago. Yeah, he will take you to psychiatric hospital. Okay, so you have to do something. What you just heard, it is a shabda. But it's not authoritative shabda. It's not coming from some reliable person. If you try to trace it, you'll just waste your time. So we shouldn't go for that. Like, in Nasik talk, somebody asked me, you did not irritate me, nor did that lady. But it is really irritating in a different way, which is to say, mujhe puch ke kya fayda? I'm saying, if you're fascinated, just find out, very quickly you're going to find out, it's all useless. This one lady asked me, is Australia the Astralaya of Mahabharata? भाई मुझे मत पूछो, आप गूगल में जाके ऑस्ट्रेलिया का मीनिंग क्या है पता करो तो समझेगा कि वो दक्षिण के लिए एस्ट्रल एस्ट्रल करके साउथ करके हुआ है, इसलिए वो साउथ का लैंड करके हुआ है. उसका क्या महाभारत से लेना देना? आई मीन दैट इज अ हाइट ऑफ डमनेस. एंड व्हाई आई एम सेइंग दिस, आई एम नॉट एंग्री और एनीथिंग गाइज. आवर रिसोर्सेज आर सो लिमिटेड. We cannot afford, and it's nothing pointed at you by the way, we cannot afford to ask such nonsensical questions. There is a statement, it says, the question also that you ask, is a saprayojana sandigdha. You ask because you have done a work and you still have a doubt, or if the question is answered, it will serve an extremely useful purpose. Saprayojana sandigdha. Okay, next now I'll come back. Hold on here.
I wanted to ask, you've said to do these researches. I personally do a lot of these researches, and then I come at stumbling block points wherein either somebody extremely brilliant in Sanskrit can answer, or somebody with an extremely good knowing of Ramayana Mahabharata can answer. Can you guide me?
Cannot answer, right? Cannot answer, you said.
No, they can answer.
They can answer.
Yeah, but I don't know these people.
Okay.
So would you recommend, do you know of any of these forums where I can put my questions, or the level of research that I have reached, I can ask them?
Yeah.
Are there any forums? Who, what, why, where?
Yeah.
Would you
Great point. No, you will find many forums. You will find many people, and you should. It's a trial and error. There is no option to that. I'll quickly tell you a story to tell you the.
Recommend some names, because I don't know any. That's why I'm asking.
So a couple of great points. I'll come to that. The first one I will tell you, like, who is the expert. See, for example, in Lean Six Sigma. I mean, I told you that's what I was. I was a guru in General Electric. I've taught like 8,000 executives there. What used to happen is, but we have each business has some expert, like Lean Six Sigma expert, like G Power System, I'm expert, and so on. So what used to happen, we had a group, and sometimes someone asked a challenging question, and so question comes to me, and I have some answer, but I said, let me find out what people have to say. So I will start the email chain, saying to my support structure across the GE or even outside, says, guys, this is a challenge, what thoughts you have to solve this problem, or something of that effect. That email one forwards to another, and everyone writes a note. It used to come back to me. You remember, Earth is round. Come back to me, and that note will say, ask Nilesh, you'll get the answer. It started with me, you know. So that will happen. What happens? As you said, stumbling on the problem. That is a good thing. Joseph Campbell has said, wherever you stumble, you find your treasure. If you solve that, you will find the treasure. That my treasure was Arundhati Vasishta. The point I am saying is, as you go into the cutting edge research, you are not going to find many experts. I mean, you will find samadukhi people. They are all struggling, so we can take help from each other. The second point that you said, can I suggest some names? Here is the challenge, guys. You know, the guru is there, but the shishya also has to get some qualification before it goes to guru. You know, now we feel offended. Like you approach someone and somebody says, I don't have a time. There are some people here, and you know, I mean, Srunjoy is one. I mean, he's not a guru shishya or anything, but he will say, I always available to him. I'm always available to him. Fair? 24/7 almost. But many other people, I will not be available. They send me good morning, some flowers. So I have to ignore, I mean, put them on a block or something like this, you know, ignore something like this. So you have to also, I mean, not you, as all of us, have to also develop that qualification when the people start researching. You know, what have you done? Because many people simply think it's a plug and play, like, you know, latest model of Apple. So you go buy it, come home, plug the thing, and tick, ready. This is like the Star Trek, where you are going where no man has gone before. So you are going to stumble, and you observed it very well. For example, when it comes to Sanskrit, when it comes to astronomy, geology, genetics, you are not going to find experts. You will be the expert. You are the expert. Even in genetics, I'm saying. I mean, how many of you will believe that, I mean, I'm a humble guy, but my knowledge of genetics is better than the Harvard geneticist. If you put effort into anything, you can get there. Same thing with astronomy. Okay? Same thing with Sanskrit. See, for example, I don't know Sanskrit grammar. I mean, I never learned in that fashion. But what happens is, they may know the grammar. I mean, I can tell you the name. Like Professor Shashi Tiwari is not here. Shashi Tiwari, I go to her for Sanskrit help many times. Gauri Mahulikar, I go to help to her for many times. Professor Vienja, I mean, many people I go, and they help me. That's why I'm just mentioning the name. But they struggle. And it so happens that many times I give them the idea, not because I know Sanskrit, but because I know something else, what that reference is. And they say, that makes sense. Now they suddenly start finding the Sanskrit rules or whatever it is. Say, this is an exception, but that is also there. And they will give me reference of Bhartuhari had also done that and whatnot. So you have to have some qualification. You have to produce something so that people have saying, this person is serious. When I published the book in 2011, I mean, 5 years, nothing happened. Not that I was disappointed. In fact, I was... Then suddenly something happened. There is that, what you call breeding period, something like this. So yeah, I mean, there is no good rule. Be ready for insults. Like people will not respond. You say, "What are you wasting my time?" You say, "My apologies. Sorry. Just move on to the next person." But you will find it. I mean, there are many networks. I mean, I don't have to. You start somewhere. You will find your own network, multiple networks. I don't have to give you the email address or link address.
No, I wasn't asking for email address. I was just asking, is there anybody that you know, or is there a forum or something?
Unlimited forum. But this is a very generic question. It depends on what specific thing you are asking. And it's not like you ask a question and you get the answer. You just don't give up. You keep on asking. Finally, somebody shows up. Okay? Yeah. One minute here. Then I'll come back to
one final question.
Yeah.
Do you equate Gyan with Vigyan and Vidya with Avidya? Is Vigyan equivalent to Avidya?
Vijnana equivalent to Avidya?
Vigyan, science, is it the same as Avidya, which we call in this thing, Upanishads, which we allude to in Upanishads?
So are you saying like Vijnana is same as Avidya, equal to
Yes.
Avidya? No, not at all. Vijnana is just think of as a knowledge. Vijnana is a realized knowledge or a sahaja knowledge, something that's a secondary nature to you, because of the realization.
The Sanskrit grammar meaning of Vigyan means Vigyan is Gyan. Vigyan means extreme Gyan.
V is a Vishesh. V in the sense of Vishesh. Yeah. Vishesh, realize, vetted out, if in the English sense. Avidya is different. I mean, see, then gets into philosophical thing, like Mukti versus Bandhan. Like if somebody asks me like what latest that stuff has come, Tukaram Maharaj, 16th century, 17th century says, Mukta kasaya manave, baddha techi nahi thave. Mukti kisko bolne ka, jab baddha hi nahi hai. That is his realization. So that will not help us, but the realization exists from 17th century, you see. So there is the another thing, and we have to stop. The another thing is, this is also our assumption, and I'm not going to challenge you. If you want to believe, you can believe whatever. In subjective conviction, you can believe whatever the hell you want to believe. But as far as the objective one goes, that's when we have to think. One of the assumption that many of us make, right or wrong, is that, whereas science, the Western way, linear arrow of time, they think the other way. What we see today is the most evolved, most developed, and we were monkeys before. That is the Western view. Now, we shouldn't take the extremely other opposite view either, that some point of time we were extremely perfect, we knew everything, and now it has gone down. No, I would say take any field, jnana, karma, bhakti, yoga, we are making progress. I mean, we might have lost some, but we are making progress. Don't think that like everyone has figured it out 7,000 years ago and 3,000 years ago, and now we are going down. The progress has to happen. I mean, sanatano nitya nutana. It has to refresh itself in the context. If you have to stop, that's fine. We can. Okay.
Okay, so I thank you all for coming to us, and thank you, Nilesh ji.